things you're going to need to do when you are working with an accounting system is enter journal entries or general journal documents to the general ledger. So that's what we'll do in this video. And we'll do that in SAP. If we go to accounting, financial accounting, general ledger, document entry, and then FB50, you can see enter GL account document. All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the menu structure can be handy because as you work on various documents in the system, you can see right near where you enter them, sometimes in the same folder or sometimes in the very next one, you can see something that gives you the ability to display existing documents or even make changes to them. Now, we need to maintain a good audit trail in an ERP. So once the journal entry is posted, the debits and credits are locked into the system along with the posting date that you posted. So there's no changing that aspect of the journal entry, but you still could make some changes to the header information, the description of the journal entry, and the like. So because of the controls needed to maintain a good audit trail in an ERP, if you make a mistake in a journal entry, then you would need to reverse that journal entry. And SAP does have a tool that lets you reverse a journal entry as well. All right, so let's enter a journal entry and see how that works. And just like we've seen before, I can enter the code directly, FB50. And because this is the first time I've accessed this particular transaction, I have to type in my company code. Mine is US 27. Make sure you use your company code for your journal entry. Now, the document date would be the date we're creating the document. For us today, that is April 9th. The posting date is the actual date you wanted to count for your books. Now, in many of our exercises, we're just going to post things as if they took place in January. So I could say 1/7 in the current year, which this year is 2023. And so I'll change the posting date to 1/7/23 as well. At that point, I need to give it a reference. So a reference would be something that I would use maybe as a lookup code. So, and I could assign sequential numbers maybe to my journal entries. So I could just say this is a JE, 02. So this is my second journal entry. And then for the doc header text, that field is the equivalent of a description. So here I could say receive payment on account. And one thing you'll find is this doc header text is a relatively brief field. So you may have to truncate or abbreviate, fit your description in as best you can. So in this case, I'll just say ACCT. No cross company activity. So at this point, I can press enter, and I'm going to do that on my keyboard. And the first thing that happens is both of my dates get highlighted in red. Well, I just notified you a minute ago that I'm recording this in April. So here I get a message down here that says period 4 adjusted in line with posting date 1/10. Basically what that is telling you is hey, it's April now. You're telling me you want to post something back in January. Are you sure that's correct? So this is a warning, and you can see you get the warning sign just like you would see out on the highway. And in this case, yeah, that is correct. I do want to post in January. So I just press enter again, and the system lets me continue. So sometimes you get a warning like this, but you can then still continue. So now I can go down here to my GL account, and I could type in the account number if I happen to know what it is. So in this case, I'm receiving cash, which is I know my bank account is account number 100,000, and you can see it pops up a little help tooltip when I start typing in the number. DC, is it a debit or a credit amount? I can choose it from the drop-down list, or I can just type in the first letter, D for debit. And then what is the amount? And in this case, we'll just say it is 18,250. All right. Now that's all I need to do for this particular line item. So this is my first debit in my journal entry. So I'm going to press enter on my keyboard, and that does a couple things. First, it's going to look up this GL account and make sure it's a valid account in my chart of accounts. And here you can see it brings up the short text. Yeah, it's the bank account. It's debit. My amount is formatted based on my system settings to 18,250. And also the currency is translated if needed. Now I'm posting in dollars, and this particular company reports in dollars, so there's no translation needed, but I can do that as well. So see here, I can change the currency that I'm posting this journal entry in, and then the system will automatically do a translation using the most recent currency translation rate. All right. So now I can go to my next account, and this one I may not remember exactly what the account code is, so I'm going to go ahead and look it up. So in many cases on the field, I've got a little lookup tool next to the field. It takes the shape of a magnifying glass sometimes, or a little piece of paper, so it's a little bit different from screen to screen, and sometimes even from field to field. But in this case, I'm going to look up my full chart of accounts for company 27. I don't want to look at a specific GL account. I just want to see them all, or at least up to 500 of them. So I press enter, and here's my chart of accounts. And I can see I've got a miscellaneous accounts receivable account that I can use. Now, normally, if I were doing this in the system, it would be trade accounts receivable. That's a control account, so we can't post directly to that, but I know that we can this miscellaneous accounts receivable account. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I select that, and it puts that account in for me. That'll be a credit. Make that a credit for the 18,250 as well. Note also that I've got a running total of my journal entry right here. So here I've got one debit. No credits yet. I've got a little red traffic light indicator that tells me, hey, this journal entry is out of balance right now. But now I've just entered 18,250. So now if I press enter, that credit gets looked up. I see the account, and I can expand the column widths here just like you would in Excel to see the full short text of the account name. And I also see now my journal entry is in balance. I've got a green light here. The balance equals 0. So basically my debits, total DR, debits, total CR, credits are equal. I can now post this journal entry right here. So I do that. And I get a little message down here that says document number. And this is the internal document number for SAP, one with a bunch of zeros after it, was posted in company code US 27. So if I double click on that, I can bring this up, and I can see, I can count the zeros a little bit easier if I need to record this. All right. So we've just posted that journal entry, and the screen just blanks out. It's ready for me to enter another journal entry. All right. So let's say I was doing some adjusting entries, and I wanted to enter, I don't know, some adjustment at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, like you might right before you close the books for the quarter to take a look and run your quarterly reports. But we're just going to say this is the end of the month for this year. And again, we'll do the posting date and the document date exactly the same. We'll call this adjusting entry 1. So I can actually use that reference code to separate different types of journal entries as well. My regular JEs, my adjusting entries here. And we'll say this, monthly office supplies expense. All right. And you can see we run into that description issue every time, almost every time. I've got that warning again. I'll just press enter again, and I'll type in the first account, which is my supplies expense. And that is going to be a debit for $450. All right. All right, so this time I got a little error message on that. It tells me that account 740000 requires an assignment to a CO object. All right, so that means I need to put in a cost center number for this particular account number. Some accounts have to be allocated to a specific cost center. Others are general administrative accounts that are used throughout the organization. All right. So in this case, I need to know what that cost center is. And if I scroll over to the right in my line item here, I'll eventually get to this cost center. It's over on the right, to the right here. And you'll see I can key one in. Now I can look it up. So let's see what we have for US 27. And you can see a fair number of them there, administration, different areas. In our case, we want to use this administration manager one, the very first one you see. So for me, that's NAAD 1027. So I'll double click on that. And you can see it adds that cost center to my line item. And at that point, it's happy. Now I'm ready to move on to the next field, which is, let's see, this was an adjustment we made because we purchased some supplies throughout the course of the month and had supplies on hand in our supplies inventory. So we're going to take an inventory at the end of the month and realize, okay, we don't have as many supplies as we had in inventory. So we'll record that difference as our supplies expense. So the credit goes to our operating supplies inventory, which is account number 200-600. And I will credit that for the same 450. And you can see inventory office supplies is my short text. So I can now post this. And you can see I now have document number 10001. So SAP is going to maintain an internal document numbering scheme for every document I post, regardless of what I key in myself in the reference field here. The reference field here is just for my own lookup purposes, but I do have an internally generated document number as well that the system's keeping for me. So you're going to enter journal entries in many of your work activities, but in this case, we're doing it for this particular exercise. We're going to enter journal entries in your project that are taking place throughout the month. You're also going to enter journal entries at the end of the month to simulate adjusting entries that you would enter typically at the end of the quarter or the end of the year. And then because we are, in our case, converting our company over from another system, their manual system, to SAP, we have to also bring in the beginning balances. So we're rolling over the end of year beginning balances from the previous year, and we're going to enter those as a journal entry at the beginning of this year. So that's 1/1/23, or while I record this, and 1/1/23. Make sure those are the same. Here, for reference, I'll just put in beginning balances. I'm entering beginning balances, and I'll type that in, enter beginning balances. And at that point, I could start entering my whatever my account is, or whatever my balance is for my cash account. So whatever it happens to be, your project will probably give you that value. And I'll enter a line. Oh yeah, I get that error message again that says this is period 4. You're trying to post something back in January. So I just go through that and I can continue. So this will probably be your largest journal entry of all those you enter because you're entering beginning balances for all your balance sheet accounts. So I won't do that here. I trust that you'll be able to do that now that you have seen this demo on how to post a journal entry. So for your project that you're working on in SAP, in my class, you will enter those beginning balances. Then in this exact same screen, you'll come back and enter your monthly journal entries for the regular activity that your case company has in the month. And then you'll come back in the exact same screen again and enter your adjusting activity. All right. So that's it for this exercise. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this journal entry, exit back out to the, okay, so I get this message here, data will be lost. Do you want to exit editing? Well, the data that I'm working on right now, yes, this will be lost, but those two previous journal entries that I entered will still be in the system. So I'm exiting the system, or exiting this screen, going back out to the main menu, and then when I'm done working on SAP for a while, I can just click the exit here to log off completely. All right, so hopefully that was useful, and good luck with your project work.